Securities offered through Kestra Investment Services, LLC, Kestra IS, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Kestra Advisory Services, LLC, Kestra AS, an affiliate of Kestra IS. Capital Advisory Group, Inc. is not affiliated with Kestra IS or Kestra AS. Neither Kestra IS nor Kestra AS provide legal or tax advice and are not certified public accounting firms.
You work hard for your money. For the next hour, you're going to learn how to keep what's yours. Capital Advisory Group presents Keep What's Yours. Here is Josh Gilbert and Jeff Zufall.
Hello and welcome to Keep What's Yours with Jeff Zufall. I'm Josh Gilbert, sitting here with Jeff Zufall, Senior Tax Strategist and Wealth Advisor with Capital Advisory Group. Hello, Jeff.
Hi, happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday indeed. We're talking taxes like we do every Saturday afternoon, and it's one of these things. I say it all the time. I just told somebody the other day,
right.
I said, taxes are important. I don't want to talk taxes. Well, do you pay taxes?
Yes.
Yeah, I do.
Then
Well,
talk about them.
You need to talk about them because you need to have a plan.
Yes.
And whether or not it's in retirement or whether or not it's every paycheck.
Pre-retirement every day.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Every day, every time we get a paycheck. We didn't get paid this weekend. I'm a little depressed about that, but we'll get paid next weekend. You know, there's always another paycheck around the corner.
Around the corner. Dun, 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 dun.
But every time we get paid, we should look at that that stub.
Look at that pay stub. There's all kinds of information. It's very dry and boring information, but there is a lot of information on it that benefits you.
And that information is me. That information is my bank
your
account,
stuff.
my
Yes.
money, my retirement.
Yes.
So it's nice to see. You know, I tell you what, I did a couple extra things around the office. I got an extra couple $100. And then when I looked at my pay stub, when, my retirement kicked in, when the Social Security kicked in, when they took everything out, it was like, well, what did I even do that for?
Yeah.
Because it didn't really seem like it added too much to my paycheck.
Yes, for the time that you spent, exactly.
Right. But you got to look at that line item that says, Josh's retirement.
Exactly.
And, 30 years from now, I want to retire in 20 years. Jeff said it's probably going to be
30-ish.
more like 30-ish because he's actually seen my taxes. 30 years from now, I'm going to come back in a
That's
time
right.
because time travel will be
That'd be cool in 30 years.
a thing by then. I'm going to come back and kiss
or
myself
30-ish.
on the lips. And I'm going to say, you know what, you should work a couple more weekends, because I want a bigger boat.
That's right.
So knowing what those numbers mean on your pay stub is very important.
It's very important. Exactly.
Yeah, and then knowing how much is coming out and what more
Where it's going.
Yeah, where it's going and what more can I be doing?
Yeah.
We did our taxes with you this past year, and it was a great experience. Loved every second of it.
That's right. Yay.
And then at the end of it, you said, how much more could you put into your retirement account?
Yeah.
Without, take into account inflation, which I mentioned last week and the week before that. I'm starting to really see it.
It's a
in
lot
my
of people
savings.
are starting to see it, seriously.
Yeah.
In your day-to-day, I say operations, if you want to call it that. I think the last report I saw a couple of weeks ago said that the average family spends $450 or $480 more a month than what you did a year ago.
I mean, I can pull up. We've got a credit card that we use just for gas and groceries. Yeah. It's this Amex card that gives 6% back on groceries and 3% back on gas. So I was like, perfect. We won't use it for anything else. We normally just take it out of the joint account anyway, so might as well get some cash back for it. And I look at the statements, and I'm like, wow, this is these gas and grocery trips are getting bigger and bigger.
Yep.
So, we pay it off because we don't want a running debt or anything. Yep. But now we're seeing that our joint account, our savings, dipping down.
Starting to dwindle a little bit.
Starting to dwindle. My wife
for the excess.
Had a panic attack. I said, honey, they took everything out. They took mortgage. They took the credit card. They took the baby's school. It all happened on one day, and she flipped out. I'm like, well, we haven't put our money back in yet.
That's right. You get paid next week, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it is hitting home. It's hitting home. So we really have to be a little bit more diligent into what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. Where's our money going? Where can I save more? Maybe I shouldn't have. I bumped my retirement up 2%.
Mm-hmm.
You told me tick it up 1%. I did it too.
Do it in 1 or 2% increments. It's not as painful as if you said, "Oh, I'll do 10%," and you'll last 2 paychecks and you'll go back to where you came from.
I like to say, out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly.
It comes out of my paycheck. I never even see it.
Exactly.
So I'll never even miss it.
Yeah.
But, it's like, well, things are getting tight. Should I drop that back down? I'm not going to.
No. Keep it.
Yeah. If you pull the trigger, just leave it.
Just leave it.
And then, I guess I'll just have to figure it out.
That's the whole concept, is doing it in small little bites as you go along. So sit all the rest of this year, going into next year, and next year raise it by 1% again.
Yeah.
That's all you're trying to do, is just out of sight, out of mind. You get accustomed or acclimated to that different income, a little bit less in your pocket, but more going into your retirement.
Yeah.
And with the market down the way it is currently, maybe not next statement that you get, but 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road, you're going to love it because it's going to come back.
Absolutely. And here's the deal. Maybe I just won't buy those jeans this month, or maybe I'll stop getting the fancy mustard.
That's right. Don't get those coffees at $7 a pound.
Oh my God, 7, 8, 9.
Exactly.
Holy cow, brown gold.
Yes,
I call it.
Yes. There's a shortage too, apparently, of coffee beans. That's what they were saying. So everybody was like, "Oh, wait a minute."
I've started making it at home.
Mm-hmm.
Hit up the gas station.
Yeah,
because it's a lot cheaper at the gas station than it is at the Starbucks or the coffee shop. We got one right out in St. Charles that we go to. I love it, but it's definitely a treat.
Oh,
it is not a daily thing for us anymore. It's woo. Anyway, anywho. Talking taxes today. If you have any questions, you can text us 84126. We'll get back to you on answers about those questions. If you want to call Jeff and have him take a look at your personal finances, you want to do taxes with him, you want to take advantage of his wealth advising capabilities, you can give him a call, 636-394-5524. We went in and did our taxes, and you helped us keep what's yours, the name of the show, name of the book. That Jeff wrote, Keep What's Yours. That's the mantra. We try to keep more money on our paychecks and in our pockets rather than going out to the federal government. We were able to keep $1,200
more
last year, keep more of that on our paycheck. It was, it's a flex spending account, right? FSA. Yes. You've probably heard of these. Jeff can set them up with your HR department. You make a phone call. You guys put HR in touch with Jeff, and they can talk and figure something out. We were able to keep, this is real money, at the end of the year, we kept $1,200.
Yeah, it's in your pocket.
This year, we're going to try to double that and keep $2,400.
That's right.
So these are real things that Jeff can do for you when he takes a look at your taxes. But after we were done with the taxes, you also sat us down and say, now, what do you want your money to do for you?
Exactly.
Why are you saving money? What is the goal? Are you aggressive? Are you trying to be?
The question is, what is the purpose of this account?
Yeah, what is the purpose?
Your IRA, your 401k, just a bank account, whatever the case may be. What do you want it to do for you?
Kind of sit down and have a reevaluation of what are we doing here.
Exactly.
And since I've got 30 plus years left of still working before I can retire.
30 plus ish.
Yeah. He's raising it now. I'll be a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah.
Because I got plenty of time to work it back.
Yes.
So that's the kind of stuff that Jeff does on a daily basis for people. 636-394-5524. Testimonial, I go to Jeff.
Yes.
So take it from me, we kept $1,200. We're going to keep $2,400 this year, and he can take a look at your personal tax liability situation and say, well, maybe you could do the FSA. Maybe it's a health savings. You got health care costs that you pay every year.
You might as well do it.
Might as well save it in a tax-deferred, tax-efficient account. I like to call it tax-free, but Jeff has some other ways of describing it. Now, the IRS. Getting into the first topic of the show, the IRS. I like to think of them as just a nameless, faceless, windowless building.
This report goes right down that path.
Yeah. And we don't know who works there. We don't want to know.
Don't want to know.
Yeah, they look at me the same way. I'm a Social Security
That's
number.
Right. Number. They have no idea who you are.
On a list. They don't. They're not trying to get in on it. Oh, Josh, he's still a Rams fan. Let's go after him. Yeah, boo. Let's take him to the cleaners. They don't know me. They don't know they actually know quite a bit about me.
They know more than you think.
Yeah, but they don't have it in for me.
Yeah.
But the IRS, it is what it is. It's a necessary evil. If we want nice roads and schools and
That's
all
where
that
it comes
stuff,
from. Exactly.
That's where it all comes from. But sometimes they mess up.
Yeah, this one they kind of did. So there's a report that came out last week. It says that the IRS exposed some confidential taxpayer data on their website. And you go,
on their website.
On their
like
website.
IRS.gov.
Yeah. So apparently it was, if you have an IRA, and depending upon the securities that are purchased within your IRA, you have to file what's called a 990T form. And typically your trustee does that behind the scenes for you. You got Fidelity as your trustee. Fidelity will fill it out, or Vanguard, whoever. They fill it out, send it on its way, and it's just reporting where some of the, I'd say, income from those securities came from. Well, they kind of left 120,000 people sitting out on their website who have IRAs with this 990T form. They left them sitting out there for a couple of days. So why they singled them out, nobody knows, but an employee of the IRS stumbled onto it on the website and said, hey, we might have an issue here, and then they turned it off.
Okay, so is this people's Social Security numbers?
They haven't said yet.
Exactly what it is.
I think that they said that they were going to contact anybody that was involved in it, I guess give them free, credit protection or something like that over the next year, courtesy of the IRS.
A free IRS mouse pad.
Yeah. So with 1-800-IRS on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of big. They posted their data online that anybody that went on IRS.gov could see. Kind of a little oopsie.
So if I'm one of these 120 people,
120,000,
120,000, yeah, that's what I meant. They'll be contacting me.
Yeah, they'll be contacting you. We don't have a clue who they are. They won't say, what the technicality was, what was exposed, what wasn't exposed.
And what bucket of people was this from? People that have
This would be people who have an IRA.
Yep.
And inside the IRA has a certain security, like a non-traded security. So they have to generate this form called the 990T. Again, as a preparer, we never touch them. They're actually done by the trustee themselves behind the scenes, and they send them on the way. So if you've ever gotten
non-traded, what's an example of a non-traded?
The real estate investment trust that are non-traded. So it's a private transaction, but they're inside of your IRA.
And inside of my IRA, let's stop for a second here. I have money come out and put into an IRA every time I get paid. And inside that IRA, I'm in a couple of mutual funds.
Yes.
And we sat down. You took a look at them. You personally took a look at the ones I'm in, and you said, these are fine. Let's leave them.
Yeah.
That was part of the wealth advising segment that we did together. But inside of my IRA or inside of a Roth, can I invest in specific stocks?
Yes.
I'm like, Elon Musk is the new god. I want to put some of my IRA money in Tesla.
Even to the degree of within your IRA, and these are just suggestions. It's not advice.
Right. No, these are just examples.
Yeah. You could buy every stock out there. You could put precious metals inside of it.
Like gold
silver,
and platinum.
Technically Bitcoin, or variations of Bitcoin now.
This is weird. Brave new world.
Brave new world, believe me.
Can I buy real estate?
Yes. So
I can buy a rental property.
Exactly. But there's each one of these has its own little caveat to it. And the real estate inside of an IRA, the trick to it is you have to hire a third-party trustee. So look at the IRA as rents received as part of the normal transactions. So you, as an owner, you can't even as much hypothetically buy a light bulb for that rental property. Otherwise, it's considered a contribution. So
I see. Because I have all my contributions to my IRA have to come out of my
income,
paycheck.
Well, paycheck and end of the day, you have to have the income. So let's say you're retired and you have an IRA, and you want to kind of play the market. And I say play the market as an alternative to stocks and bonds and cash, and you put it in real estate. You create passive rental income that comes in the door. That stays within that IRA, But the concept behind it is if you put anything into the property itself, it's deemed a contribution. And if you don't have the income, it's an illegal contribution. So it gets a little tricky in what takes place. But your trustee, third-party trustee, would then collect rents, do all maintenance, the whole shoot match, and it stays within the IRA.
My wife, we opened up her IRA to take a look at it and see what options were out there, and they seemed fairly limited. And at some point when kind of things settle down, I know that the 15th of the month is coming up. You've got a lot of estimated payments coming in. We'll talk about that for third quarter. When things start settling down, she's going to call you and get you on the phone with her HR department to figure out, it only seems like there's 15 things to invest in for hers, but there are other options out there.
Yes. Yeah. And you just need to look at what's offered by your employer. Sometimes it's just a standalone 401k with a handful of options. Other times there's little hidden features in there that you don't realize, which is access to a brokerage account where the sky's the limit. But it's still within your 401k.
Yeah.
So just a matter of exploring those options as you go forward.
So when we sit down and, maybe every quarter, just kind of open it up and say, where am I sitting? And then maybe I'll reach out to you. Since the 15th of the month is, third quarter for estimated payments, maybe I'll use that as a calendar event and just reach out and say, Jeff, this is what I'm in. Yeah. Is this still something I should be in?
Exactly. So and you look at it and just kind of scan through it, see, again, don't look at you got to judge a fund by more than its current performance. Other than if that was the case, you'd have to chuck everything, bonds, growth funds, the whole shoot match, just because everything is terrible right now.
Right.
But the market works that way. It will go through peaks and valleys. The concept is just try to take out the tops of the peaks and the lows of the valley, and that's what diversity
and then
does.
See what's in there. All right.
Exactly.
That is kind of a sidebar, but the IRS, released 120,000
kind of
people's
oopsie
data out there. And Jeff was explaining to us that it's people that have kind of more of a non-traditional, non-tradable assets
inside their IRA.
Inside their IRA. So if you are one of those people, you might be getting a phone
get a letter
call.
from them.
You also mentioned that the IRS, they are working to get better at what they do.
They're trying, but in a slow motion fashion.
They're getting an influx of money, which we've heard
cash is coming
a lot about. So they're going to hire new people, but they're also going to replace a lot of people that are retiring as well. Yeah. But they're going to fix their own infrastructure. And if we talk about it all the time, if you've seen the pictures of what the IRS office
nightmarish looking
in Austin, Texas it's nightmarish.
Yes.
And they're using floppy disk, and I mean like floppy,
the old
floppy, not even that hard disk that you would put in. They're using fax machines, which is ridiculous. Come on, it's 2022 at this point.
Yep.
But inside their system currently, they have a problem with joint filers.
Yeah. And so it's more so the problem with the joint filers is we've seen a ton of these letters. They've now admitted that they have a issue. And so what they're doing is and anybody out there listening, married filing jointly, and you paid your taxes and you paid them on time and you paid them online, and you get a notice a couple weeks later saying, hey, you owe us all this money. You never paid your taxes. You bum, so on and so forth. What's taken place is typically what we've seen that takes place is husband-wife filer. And I say primary, all the ladies are going to yell at me. The primary is typically the husband. So the wife pays the bills. She goes in there. She pays it. It says, hey, what's your Social Security number? She puts hers in there and pays it. Boom. It can't match up to the husband's Social Security number because he's listed as the primary. Even though it's married filing jointly, you're both 50-50 responsible for everything. It's an issue.
Well, when we talk about how antiquated the IRS is, they're still living in the 50s.
Yeah. So most people
saying that every married filing jointly, the husband is the top.
Exactly.
And you have to use the husband's Social Security number when filing.
Yeah. So technically what will take place, and again, to the ladies that are paying the bill, I get it. They pay the bill. Everything's fine. You get this letter and you're like, should I worry about it? The first one, typically they don't. The second one that starts getting a little more threatening, then they call us and go, well, hey, what's going on here? I've paid it. 9 out of 10 times it's because the wife used her Social Security number to the tax return in the IRS. Their software, you would think their software system would pick that up in a heartbeat. It cannot.
Well, if you
reason.
if you read the article about what the IRS actually looks like on the inside, this is not surprising.
Yeah, but they've finally admitted it, and it's called a CP14 notice. So anybody that's got one, don't panic. If you've paid your tax, all you got to do is either write a letter and/or call the IRS. Good luck getting through,
right.
And explain. Say, hey, it was paid, on my wife's Social Security number, and they'll basically release it. You don't owe them anything. Call it a day.
Just a mix-up, misunderstanding. The fact that their systems can't show that both of these Social Security numbers are
equal partners, basically.
Partners.
Yeah.
But here's the question. What about same-sex couples married finally jointly? Two men.
The same thing. Be the same thing.
Wife and wife.
Yeah. If the top wife, who's ever listed first.
Just
again,
whoever's listed first.
Who's ever listed first is considered primary. But there really is no primary. It's a joint return.
Right.
So you're both 50-50.
So, and the fact that the IRS systems can't show both,
goofy.
Tie your Social Security numbers to your
You'd
wife's.
think it would pick them both up in a heartbeat, and boom, you'd be done.
Will the influx of money fix this?
That's a software issue, and yes, it should. I mean, that's what the first influx of dollars are supposed to do.
Is go to software.
Fix the software, make them a little bit more knowledgeable, intuitive.
I think they said they're still using software from the 70s.
Yeah.
Which is what
is the old one? XP? That's been retired for
Windows
seems
XP.
like 100 years, but XP.
They're still using Windows XP operating system.
There was the funniest was there was a gentleman that was in that who retired in the 60s from the IRS, and apparently he built a prototype in his backyard of a round desk with cubby holes in it, basically. But the backside of these cubby holes were open, and it was when a tax return would come in old days. And they didn't have computers. They'd have to tear it apart, and each section went in one of these little cubby holes, and people would come by and grab it and go take it to the next section. They still use those today, and it's a guy built it basically out of plywood in his backyard in his late 60s.
Yeah,
and he's been retired since 71 or something.
Man, and the 1960s
and
technology.
That's the technology, the desk technology they're using today.
This is your IRS, people. That's why they're getting some money, and
hopefully fixes it.
And they can hire people to answer the phone.
That too.
For once.
3 hours, and it kicks you out of the queue and hangs up on you. So don't.
God,
if you do have to call the IRS, don't get upset. Pick a different day. Keep doing it at 8 in the morning. It's the only time to really try and get through. Sounds goofy. So.
Well, there's your tip of the day. If you have to call the IRS, try to do it as early as possible.
You can't do it 7:59 or earlier. Won't even take your phone call. They'll hang up on you automatically.
8 a.m. on
8
the
a.m. plus you get thrown in the queue and sit and wait 3 hours. And typically at 3 hours, if nobody's answered, they kicks you off and hangs up on you.
You said one of the goals of the IRS coming out, they're trying to find more revenue, and they're trying to find, I don't want to call them tax cheats, but people have been slipping through the cracks.
Yeah. So the big one, if you are a S corporation and you do not take reasonable compensation, which reasonable comp, we could have a whole week's worth of shows explaining it.
But these what's an S-Corp?
So an S-Corp is a pass-through. Could be one person, could be 15, could be 20 people.
Are these big companies? Are these small businesses?
Mid-size. It could be small, mid-size. Yeah. It's how you're taxed. So the concept is you have to take a paycheck.
If I own a business, I have to take a paycheck from the business.
Well, yeah. So if you're an S-Corp, so you could be it's a true corporation, just like Home Depot and, Lowe's and GE, they're a corporation. Mm-hmm. But this is an S-Corp. So it's a subchapter S-Corp. So you're asking for special tax treatment is what you're asking for from the IRS. So what takes place is you would take a regular paycheck, and if there was any other profits left over at the end of the year, that would flow through as an owner's draw or a pass-through. That pass-through then is not subject to what's called self-employment tax. So self-employment tax is comprised of Social Security and Medicare. That as an employee, you pay on your check, if you look at your paycheck, You pay 6.25% to Social Security and 1.45% to Medicare on a regular basis. Your employer matches that dollar for dollar.
Oh, okay.
So it's 15.3. So if you are the owner of an S-Corp,
you have to pay both.
Exactly. So you're taking your paycheck, okay, and you're paying that 15.3% on your total paycheck because you're the owner / employee. But yet at the same token, any profits left over in the company pass through without paying that self-employment tax.
Okay.
So what the IRS has seen, and we've seen it many a times, is the owner says, I don't want a paycheck. So, but they pay all their employees, and then they just take owner's draws all year long.
Okay. Well, all right. Let's go back. Let's go back a second. I work here at the Big 550. I pay into Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. And on the other side, the Big 550 pays, matches that.
Exactly.
That's called payroll taxes.
Yes, that's payroll taxes.
Okay. I get it. When you own your own company or you're self-employed, you pay as an employee, your share of it.
Yes.
And as an employer,
you're paying the other side.
So you pay in double. And that's just one of the beauties of being
exactly
self-employed.
Being self-employed.
Your payroll taxes just doubled. Okay, I get it. So now as an S-Corp, you're going to say, you know what, I only made $20,000.
Exactly. And the rest, $100,000 comes as a pass-through
at the end of the year.
The problem is if you're an S-Corp, the IRS will eat your lunch on this one. They haven't, way back in the day, maybe about 8-10 years ago, they went after this kind of stuff, and then they backed off. For whatever reason, they backed off and left them alone. So there was the poster child for this was a gentleman that was real close to our office who said, hey, I only made $30,000 this year, but he took a $400,000 pass-through.
Yeah.
And IRS caught him, and he was poster child for this is what you don't do.
Yeah.
So if you're an S-Corp, you have to take reasonable compensation. The simplest way to explain reasonable comp is if you're running a company and you said, hey, I'm moving to Florida, and I'm going to hire somebody to run my company. What would it take for you to
How
pay
much
that
would
person?
You have to pay that person?
That's the easiest way to look is what is reasonable comp. To do everything that you do as a business owner on a day-in, day-out basis. Funny part is you will find out that it's going to take a lot more than what you think.
Yeah.
Is the easiest way to
And that ultimate number is up to the IRS?
Interpretation is to the IRS at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, but again, I mean, there's some guidelines you can run with, but depending upon industries, they change dramatically.
Sure.
So again, there's a whole industry that's been created for reasonable compensation. You could reach out to them. They will do a study for you, say you should take X. That's what you should take as reasonable compensation. And that keeps you off the radar scopes of the IRS.
Yeah.
Because this is one thing that they are going to come guns a-blazing on.
We talked about it.
Intended.
Right. Well, because some of the IRS agents that they're hiring, they want to be proficient in weapons.
They have to be for what they do. Those are actually the true collection revenue agents.
If you have one of those agents knocking on your door.
Those guys usually are they're tasked with trying to get a lot of money.
Yeah. And
they tend to, how would you say it, disturb people.
Right. Well, if you're paying your taxes and you're doing it the right way, you've got Jeff Zufall from Capital Advisory Group, 636-394-5524, doing your taxes for you. You're going to pay them the right way, and you're not going to have to worry about this. Yeah. But as an example, again, an S-Corp, at the end of the year, there's $120,000 that is left over. I only took $20,000 and paid $20,000 in payroll taxes, and I took the other $100,000 and just paid. And I still have to pay taxes on that.
It's just regular, just federal and state tax,
so regular income tax.
You're not paying that 15.3% total.
The IRS is going to come out and say, "What's going on here?
Wait a minute here. You need to take reasonable compensation." You get into that whole debate, which you don't want to go down that path. You won't win. And again, it's one of those gray areas, but this is something they're coming out strong here shortly within the next couple of years.
You've mentioned the past couple of weeks that this new IRS influx of money, they're going to be looking at small to medium-sized businesses.
Exactly.
And this is one of the examples.
That's the prime example.
And I don't want to make it out like, it's us versus the IRS. These are people that aren't technically paying.
Or doing it right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. And again, if the cash is, and again, as a business owner, I get it 100%. If the cash isn't there, you can't take the check, period, because you got to pay your employees first. That's one thing. But it's when you have that profit at the end of the year and you say, hey, I'm only going to take a tiny bit as my income, the rest is passed through, that's cheating.
Yeah.
So,
and they'll come after you.
And you're cheating yourself because at the same token, you're not paying a lot into Social Security and Medicare. So your benefits down the road, I mean, are going to be lower versus you pump that up and pay
with all that pass-through money.
Exactly.
I hope you've reinvested it.
You better be really good at it.
You're going to retire with nothing.
Yes.
So that is kind of what we have to look forward to.
Yeah, and that's the stuff that's coming down the road. They're going to come out hot and heavy on this.
Like you said,
stuff.
they used to go after this big time, and then they backed off for a while.
For whatever reason, they just like somebody flipped the switch and said, "Don't worry about it."
So if you're a small to medium business and you've been doing this,
yes,
you need to call Jeff.
Yes,
Jeff, you specialize in doing small business.
Small business, yes.
Yeah. So if you're a small business and you need someone to kind of look over what you're doing. I always use the example of the flower shop. You're really good at picking out flowers and arrangements and everything, but you don't have any idea how to work the books.
Yep.
That's what Jeff is here
Reach
for.
out to us. We can help.
636-394-5524, Capital Advisory Group, Jeff Zufall, Senior Tax Strategist and Wealth Advisor. And he does little guys like me, too.
Yes.
Because he's done my taxes as well. We're going to go to commercial break, and when we come back, we've got some more stuff to talk about. The student loan forgiveness, they forgave some money, but there might be some tax implications at the end of the day. And we're also going to talk about the Great Resignation. Where are all the employees going? 11.5 million jobs up for grabs, still out there. So we'll talk about that as well. Keep what's yours with Jeff Zufall on the Big 550 KTRS.
This is Keep What's Yours with Josh Gilbert and Jeff Zufall.
Back on the Big 550, back on Keep What's Yours with Jeff Zufall. I'm Josh Gilbert, sitting here with Jeff Zufall, Senior Tax Strategist and Wealth Advisor with Capital Advisory Group, 636-394-5524. You got a tax issue? You need someone to do your taxes? Are you a small business and you're worried that the IRS is hiring agents to come after you? If you do your taxes right, you got nothing to worry about. So want to make sure that you're on the up and up. And while Jeff is inside your taxes, he can tell you as a small business, hey, you're bleeding money over here. Or, hey, you are making some good money over here. Let's capitalize on that.
Exactly. Most small business owners do not look at their P&Ls, profit and loss statements, but they don't pay close attention to the details.
Yeah.
And when a P&L is created, that's your guidebook basically to what's taken place.
And what kind of LLC should I be? What kind of corporation should I be?
Depends.
Yeah, you can really take a look.
There's multiple ways to do that, and income revenue, depending upon what industries you're in. That's basically like, I'll say, corporate placement in a sense within the different strategies.
Yeah. So he can help you out as a person like he does us. We saved $1,200 last year. We're going to keep $2,400 this year. He can help us out with just by setting us up an FSA for my son's school. He can take a look at your personal taxes, and if you're a small business, he can take a look at those as well and help you out there. Student loan forgiveness. We talked about this last week. And we don't really know what the tax implication is going to be. Nobody, the University of Pennsylvania has one number, and the Biden administration has another
a
number.
Totally different.
Yeah, well, their number's a lot lower.
Well, they're like $1 trillion apart, so somewhere in between there.
We'll figure out how this shakes out. But when it comes to the end of the year, federal government, the money, I guess, came from them, so they're not going to charge you taxes on this.
Yes. So from a federal standpoint, if they do forgive some of your note, it's not federally taxable. But apparently 13 states have now jumped on the bandwagon and said that they're going to tax you for it. They're going to, whatever is forgiven, you're going to pay a state tax on it.
The state tax here, I share
5%.
Yeah,
basically.
I share my federal tax rate's about 24%. married filing jointly, and the state taxes is 5%, and that
technically it's 5. Well, the highest rate is 5.8, I believe. They're trying to get that, or 5.3. They're trying to drag it down to 4.8. Is what,
and that's what Parson
is trying to do.
We got a surplus of money.
Yeah,
let's give
I don't
a
think
tax
it's
cut.
done yet, but there's more debate on it. But basically, say 5% as a rule of thumb, straight across the board. So Missouri and Illinois are not included in this. So right now, Missouri and Illinois, we're safe. Closest to us would be Arkansas. Arkansas is going to tax it.
So if you live in Arkansas and you got $10,000 in it's a student loan forgiveness.
What's going to take place is you'll end up paying in Arkansas $550, which is a 5.5% state tax.
That's their state tax rate.
Yeah. So craziest is Hawaii.
What's
They're on
Hawaii's
the
state
list.
tax?
They're going to end up 11%. So it's $1,100. If they release $10,000, you're going to pay $1,100 in state tax.
Hawaii's got the highest state tax rate.
Yes.
And what did they say about Florida has no state taxes?
Florida has no state. Florida, Texas have no state tax.
No state taxes.
Yeah.
How do they make up for that?
Sales tax, basically.
Okay. Every time I buy something, I pay more.
Yeah, you're paying more for that. And then they have for properties that you purchase. What is it?
Higher property taxes or something?
Not the property tax. They have a deed that you have to purchase through them.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like a property sales tax.
Yeah,
if you
they make up for it.
Oh, they make up for it. Blame me. But the revenue from tourists alone for the sales tax make up for that dramatically.
So go to Florida all the time.
All the time. Yes.
So tell me this. It's student debt. And it's forgiveness. It's not like the administration is cutting checks and handing us $10,000.
No.
They're just saying you owe 70. Now you only owe 60.
60 or 50, depending if you get the full 20 or not.
Right.
So,
and in 13 states currently, the list could grow.
It could too.
They are counting that as income.
It's income to you. So typically, anytime there is debt relief. So people have heard of cancellation of debt. So the easiest example is you got $1,000 on a credit card. The credit card company resolves you of that debt. They will issue right behind that what's called a 1099-C, which is a cancellation of debt. It's federally taxable to you. So anybody that's been through a bankruptcy that sees these 1099-Cs show up or negotiated with credit card or creditors, they've seen these.
You got to pay taxes on your bankruptcy too.
Yes.
I think I thought the whole point was I don't have any money.
Well, the attorneys are going to work, but typically the credit card companies will crank off these 1099-Cs, which is it's a cancellation of debt, which technically you have to drop. It's federally taxable.
I never would have thought that a cancellation of debt, you owe 70, now you only owe 60, would be considered income, because it doesn't touch my account. It's not like I have more purchasing power.
Got it put in your hand. You didn't. I mean, you benefited only from the standpoint you were.
I don't owe as much now.
Yeah, that's it.
But as far as 13 states go, it is subject to state taxes.
Yes. So it's not going down the path of a cancellation, or they're not considering the student loan debt basically a cancellation of debt. They're just being resolved of it. But they are, I'm sure there's a mechanism how it's going to kick off 1099s, something that they're going to be able to pick up on, and the states are going to tax you on
it. Except for the state of Florida and
Florida
Texas.
and Texas won't, because they don't exist.
Because they don't have state taxes.
But right now, as of just the other day, there's 13 states that have jumped on this bandwagon so far where they're going to, it's an easy money grab for them.
Yeah. I sit here and I try my hardest to talk about the IRS in neutral terms.
Yes.
We don't like them. They don't like us, but, it's a necessary evil. But sometimes it kind of seems like they do nickel and dime us.
Oh, yeah. There's
resolution of debt. It's not income. It doesn't hit my bank account. I can't go out and spend money I can't go out and buy a TV with my debt forgiveness.
Exactly. So one of the examples we ran into a couple years ago was an individual who had her house. They bought a house that they were going to rehab and rent it out, and it just didn't go right from the start. They ended up giving it back to the bank. The bank turns around and hands them a cancellation of debt for a couple $100,000. And it's like, boom.
And they had to pay taxes
on it. Yeah.
Holy
Now, this thing was a
cow.
disaster from the start, though. Somebody should have just went and lit it on fire and walked away,
Right.
but they didn't. It was bad.
That would have been illegal.
Yes, very.
Right.
But literally, when it was said and done, the bank turned around and hit them far because they basically resolved them of the mortgage, but they took it back.
Right.
And
There is no free lunch.
No. So $200,000 showed up on a 1099-C. Had to report it as
5%
income.
of that state and
federal too.
24% of that federal.
Oh yeah,
Depending on what
chunk
you're.
of change.
Holy cow!
So yeah.
I mean, yeah. Well, all right. Well, maybe I do have some beef with the IRS after all.
There's in some regards. So
Yeah.
but
Well, they give us the runaround. But all right, I'll go back to my original neutral stance. There are things out there that we can take advantage
Yes.
of. Even
yes,
it's
everything
not just,
that you could get your hands on.
yeah, it's not just GE that gets the huge tax breaks. Individuals and small companies and S-Corps and small to medium-sized businesses, there are things in the tax code that we can take advantage of
Yes.
to lessen our tax burden, to keep a little
Yes.
bit more of what's ours. And the only way to access those things is to find somebody who knows that they
Yes.
exist. We always say they put these things into the tax code, but they didn't do any follow-up. They never told
Nope.
us about it.
Nobody's going to call you and go,
You know?
hey, look at this page
Yeah.
2020,
Hey,
50.
it's Brian from the new IRS. We're a lot, we
Yeah.
make house calls now. Hey, you could be taking advantage of this, that, and the other. No, they don't do that.
No.
They didn't even
and the
have
IRS never will call you, believe me.
Yeah.
They will never, unless you initiated a call on the first side.
But they should have a press conference that says, hey, everybody, you're not doing enough to keep more of what's yours. Call Jeff Zufall or call any,
Yes. Anybody.
anybody that works with this, senior tax strategist, Jeff Zufall. Call Jeff, and he can start hunting these things out for you. They exist. They're there. They're waiting. I always say I would love for the IRS to get my tax return and be like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Look
gosh.
what Josh did. Yeah.
I think there's a bell over on the side of the wall. Ding, 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 ding. Somebody took advantage of the tax code.
Yes.
But they don't do that because we file electronically. And
Yeah.
it just
goes right on through.
goes right through the computer.
Yep. That's the way you want it.
And doesn't get stopped because Jeff did it for us, and he did it the right way. So, yes, the IRS is nickel and diming us, and if you got student loan forgiveness and you live in the state of Arkansas
That's right. You're going
or
to get
Hawaii, even worse,
Yeah.
it could be a taxable event to you. State of Missouri and Illinois, so far, so good.
Yes.
But if you need help interpreting the tax code, if you need help using the tax code to your benefit, here's the name of the book that Jeff wrote, Keep What's Yours, How to Leverage the New Tax Law to Create Unfair Advantage Over Your Competition. In this case, it's us against the IRS.
Not to say us versus them, but yes.
Right. The competition is the IRS. How can we keep more of our money and only pay what we have to?
Yeah. Legally obligated to.
Legally obligated. 636-394-5524. That's Jeff's number. Give him a call. Leave a voicemail. Get on the books now and go visit him. I've been out to the offices several times. And it's always a nice visit because when I leave there, I'm always thinking I'm in a better financial tax situation than when I walked in.
Yes.
So keep that in mind. And, like I said, we kept $1,200. This year, hopefully, we'll keep $2,400. And if you can walk out of there saying, I'm going to keep $2,000 this year, you're better off than when you went in.
When you went in, exactly.
So 636-394-5524, Capital Advisory, GRP.com. We'll come back and talk about the Great Resignation. Where did all the workers go? And what is quiet quitting?
This is Keep What's Yours with Josh Gilbert and Jeff Zufall.
Back on the Big 550 KTRS, Keep What's Yours with Jeff Zufall. And I mentioned the book last segment, Jeff, and it is the I'm holding one right now, handy-dandy book, Keep What's Yours, written by Jeff Zufall. You can get a free copy.
Yes. On the website.
On the website.
Upper right-hand side, get my book. Click
Get my
button.
book. Capital Advisory, GRP.com, upper right-hand side. Where's my book?
Yeah. Where's my book?
There's a little button there that says get the book. and Jeff will send it out to you. This will be your primer, and then you can say, look, there's a couple of things in here that pertain to me.
Exactly.
I need to go into Jeff and put these things into action. We also, for small businesses, right, who kept employees, employee retention credit.
Yes.
Who kept employees throughout the pandemic rather than sending them to unemployment rolls, and the government had to pay for them. Yeah. They're going to give you a kickback.
It's actually, they're just going to pay you straight out if you qualify. And this is not PPP money. This is not the EIDL loan. This is
Separate.
A straight credit, right?
Government
have to file a tax return.
Saying thank you so much for keeping your employees on your payroll and not making us pay for them through unemployment. Here's a bonus.
Yep. So you got to go to myerctoday.com.
myerctoday.com and just fill out the numbers.
Fill out the basic information.
And you'll have the numbers. Because
they'll come back and ask for a whole bunch of stuff that you need to prove the scenario. But if they could get it for you, it's a credit that's out there. Take advantage of it and run.
Yeah.
And when it's done, and I say when it's paid out, I don't know. It's like $1 trillion fund, but when they do run out of money, they run out of money. It's done.
Yeah. So take it, get it now.
Yes.
And this is, I don't want to say it's free money, but this is,
I believe, March of 2020 and goes to September of 2021. So as long as you kept people employed during that time frame, and most people, their revenues were hit, declined a little bit because of COVID, you should qualify easy for it.
This will help.
Yeah.
A little bonus for keeping people on the payroll.
Oh, yeah.
So throughout the pandemic. And this pandemic has kind of kickstarted something known as the Great Resignation.
Yes.
What is that?
So the Great Resignation is where people just said, you know what? I'm done. I quit. I'm walking away.
And where are you going?
Well, that's what everybody's kind of curious as to what really transpired. There was a lot of money on the table, unemployment, stimulus money, so on and so forth. A lot of people started to work from home, but so a lot of people were just like, I'm done. I'm not gonna risk it, was their theory. But it was a Great Resignation. A lot of people retired. We've seen more people that technically retired back 2021. They just officially didn't announce it.
Yeah.
Now they're like, hey, I'm retired. Whereas before they're like, I'm just not working.
Hey, I took some time off from work and realized I like it better this way.
And I like it. So, and that's the funny part is some of these articles that we're reading, the headline is, did lockdowns turn Americans into lazy bums? And that's the question of the day.
Yeah.
And people work from home. It's legit. Don't get me wrong.
I don't have to take a shower.
Exactly.
I work in my pajamas.
Everybody's like, I love it. I can wear a mask and, I don't have to brush my teeth. I get goofy, but you go, okay.
I would wear my mask to drop my son off at daycare because, it's 8 a.m. and I hadn't brushed my teeth.
Exactly.
So, do you have COVID? No.
Not at all, yeah.
I didn't brush my teeth.
Exactly.
Maybe they did make me a lazy bum. Maybe the pandemic made me lazy.
That's the question of the day. I can't answer that.
Right.
And then the other one was, maybe it wasn't the Great Resignation, but maybe it's what they reference as quiet quitting. And you go, what in the world is that? And so it's basically doing less at work versus working overtime, doing more than, doing your coworker's job and so on and so forth. Quiet quitting is just you just kind of reel back, kind of just be a face in the crowd, do your thing, just enough to do your 8 hours and go home.
Yeah.
So,
well, we've talked about that during the daytime show, quiet quitting, doing the bare minimum.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, that's not my job description, so I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Not a great way to get a promotion.
No, not at all. And so I think that's, kind of the landscape of where we're at today.
You're one of those employees. Great. We'll promote this other guy.
Yeah, not even that, but just from the hiring aspect, we saw a lot of people and right out of the box, the first question were, can I work from home? What's my vacation?
Yeah.
And you're just like, whoa, wait a minute, So kind of looking at the big picture.
Let's start with the benefits to me.
Exactly, yeah. So at the end of the day, though, I think what will take place is we've seen it where it was lopsided towards the employee.
Yeah.
Or I should, way back in the day, it was lopsided towards the employer.
Yeah.
Now it came back towards in the employee's court. And here, maybe if this, the Great Recession that we're in,
right.
Depending upon, I mean, that's one thing that's keeping up is unemployment's still chug-a-lugging along.
Right. 11 million jobs are still available.
In a recession.
In a recession. How about that?
Maybe in the next 3 or 4 years, it may twist and go the other way, where it goes back to the employer's favor, just because a true recession is a loss of jobs, basically.
And you are a small business, Jeff Zufall at Capital Advisory Group. So you've been hiring throughout this whole process.
Yeah.
And back in the day, I guess it was probably like, this is how I can help the company. And now it's kind of like, how can the company help me?
Exactly.
What's in it for me?
Yeah.
And that's normally a conversation that you have at the end of the conversation. But now it's front and center. What can I get? I'll try my hand at the other 11 million jobs that are out there.
Exactly. So kind of a weird, but that's the title of this article was, did lockdowns turn Americans into lazy bums? And that's a question of the day. I can't answer it, but
maybe it's an employees market, a buyer's market, seller's market.
Yeah.
Now it's an employees market rather than the employer's market. So interesting things for sure. And
definitely.
Like you said, if this recession really hits and layoffs start coming,
then it'll probably twist the other direction.
Twist it back to the employer's favor.
Mm-hmm.
Estimated payments are due on the 15th.
Yes, September 15th, most important of all of the estimated payments. If you haven't made one this year, make the 15th.
These are self-employed. These are contract.
Exactly. Anybody, contractors, self-employed, anybody that runs their own show. Basically, if you don't know how to make it, call us. We can help you.
Yeah.
But worst case scenario, pay your minimum tax liability from the previous year.
Yep.
Or at least have it third quarter paid in. You'll have September 15th and January 15th. It'll last two.
One of the things I learned doing the show with you, Jeff, multiple things, by the way. I learned how to keep $1,200
exactly
every year, but of my own money. But the government, even if you want an extension, even if you're having trouble figuring out how much you actually owe, you have to pay the government something.
Exactly.
You have to pay April 15th. You have to pay them.
Yeah. Hey, I filed an extension. It's like, okay, but that's just
great
paperwork.
Give us our money.
Yeah.
And if you paid too much, we'll give it back to you.
Yeah.
And if you underpaid, then we'll
ask for more.
Ask for more money and probably hit you with some fees.
Yes.
So you have to pay estimated payments if you are a contract worker, if you're working for yourself, if you're running your own show. So if you're one of those people, you probably know exactly what this is. And just a friendly reminder, it comes up on the 15th of this month. Jeff, thank you so much. Those people, if they have questions, they can call you, 636-394-5524. Keep what's yours. Go to the website, capitaladvisorygrp.com. Top right corner, get my book.
That's right.
Give me the book. Jeff will send it to you for free. You can thumb through it, and you can find Keep What's Yours, the book written by Jeff Zufall. The show is named Keep What's Yours as well, and the lifestyle, the mantra. I want to keep more of my money rather than paying it out to the federal government. I can do more with that than they can.
They can, yes.
So I'll keep. It means $1,200 means more to me than it does to them.
Oh yeah.
So how do we keep more of what's ours? Well, we call Jeff Zufall, 636-394-5524. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. See you next week.
You've been listening to Keep What's Yours with Josh Gilbert and Jeff Zufall, Senior Tax Strategist and Wealth Manager at Capital Advisory Group. To learn more, call 636-394-5524 or visit capitaladvisorygrp.com.